All right.
Right. So I'm here and we are trying to connect yet again. And let me see what happens. I'm going to sign out of this one. Maybe that'll help because there's too many things that is connecting. So let's see what happens here. Okay. And then let's see. Is it not allowing you to do your video again?
Say again.
Are you not allowed to do a video again? Is it telling you that?
No, I'm not getting anything over here except for recording, live, and preparing. That's what I see.
Okay. Let me see.
All right, so basically you don't have my camera on right now, so let me just run off to the bathroom and I will be returned.
Okay.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right.
Hey, Auntie. Hey.
Okay. So we are, looks like it's starting to connect. Never have this problem. It's like every time I've done one of these, there's always been an issue beforehand. Before it was video, now it's this. And I don't get why I have issues. I'm going to have to end up calling. Somebody's going to give me something free.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, because they're going to have to pick me up for free. So what I probably am going to do, this is not happening the way I want to. I'm going to post in my group. Please join us on Zoom. webinar ID. What did I say? 825 4545 1397. Having difficulty connecting to Facebook. Okay. So I'm going to put the web ID so at least people could join us here. And then once it gets
Okay.
to Facebook, it gets to Facebook. And that way people could see. They could just come on in here. And then once we get it on Facebook, it gets on Facebook. And I probably may have to share it later on, but we'll see.
What a one way to skin a cat. Right?
One way or another, this thing's gonna work out. That's how I look at it. Let me tell Nancy, if you can, log into Zoom. ID number is 825 4545 1397. Okay. So yeah. That's one. If to watch tonight, log into Zoom with ID. Okay. The number is, I think I see one person about to come in here. 4545 1397. More copy. I see. I send it to Jerome because I know he was one. I'm gonna send it to Tori because I think she liked it. So I'm gonna send it to her. Okay. So we have 3 people already that are here. Let's see who else is here. Nancy. Hey Nancy, how are you, my dear? Okay, so I got Nancy in here. I think we may have some more coming in here. I sent it out to a couple people. And then I posted it on the page. So anybody else who is already in here on the way, all good. Thank you so much, Nancy. So
You have some loyal followers.
I have
Which
some
is a
very
great thing.
faithful people,
Absolutely.
and I love them so very much. Nancy has known, I would tell you, Nancy has known me for quite some time. She used to work with my mother, and just they all keep a watchful eye over me and just keep an eye looking out for me. So definitely, Nancy's amazing. So
Welcome, Nancy.
welcome, Nancy. And Nancy
Welcome,
also plays
Nancy.
the guitar, so I'm gonna try to get Nancy on
Oh,
real
wow.
soon. She don't know that yet, but she knows she got to
I'll
get
be
on
looking forward
soon.
to that.
Yeah, she plays the
Yes.
guitar and she sings. I'm talking about you, Nancy. So I'm gonna have her. I want to definitely showcase her work on here very
You're very welcome.
soon. Yeah. So can you see her comment?
Yes. The thing
Okay,
about
cool.
it is that to avoid looking like Clark Kent, I didn't have my specs on.
Okay. Well, I have no choice because I cannot see nothing if I don't. I have a hard time seeing. So, okay, I'm going to continue off and on throughout this thing to share this via Facebook. I just sent out to people and also posted it on the page. It could go on the webinar, but like I said, at the end of the day, if we can get on Facebook, it's recorded and I could post it later. Fair deal? That a
Sounds like
deal?
a plan to me.
Sounds like a plan.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we have Nancy. So Nancy and whomever else is on their way, I want to introduce a gentleman that I have met. We've known each other now for about a couple months now, right? I met him via
Absolutely.
Facebook and checked out his profile. I was like, okay, he seems kind of interesting. And we have been friends ever since then. And we actually just connected. So learned he does poetry and just learned some really, really wonderful, amazing things about him. So I'm gonna let him tell you about himself, ladies and gentlemen. I introduce to you Shamari Alonz, excuse me.
Hello,
Oh,
hello,
I want
hello.
to say
Thank you
Alonzo,
again.
forgive me, sir.
No,
My apologies.
Alonz. No, it's fine. It's fine, darling. First and foremost, thank you so much again for having me. I'm very honored, very flattered to be here. Who would have thought, this is like so foreign to me, as I was explaining to you before we had started, that I'm a very humble spirit when it comes to this whole thing. Finally, I'm just grateful to be here, finally doing what it is that I love to do, as opposed to you know um, something that's not for me, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I say, absolutely. So about me, I am Shamari Alonz. I was born in Newark, New Jersey. Um, and I pretty much was there until the age of 5 years of age, and in which I moved to the Carolinas. Coming of age, pretty much was always a person of expression, and I loved to write. Unfortunately, life and the pressures of life had led me to do other things outside of my natural innate gifts. Of
Hmm.
course, being a teenager, a lot of guys, unfortunately, the stereotype of wanting to be a rapper or a basketball player was either the path that we were gonna go down. So I wanted to be a rapper.
Okay.
That pretty much changed when I became a father. I said to myself, it's time to do something else. I didn't make a record deal, so that basically fell through. So I manned up, got a job, and there was always something missing, something to the degree of, am I doing what it is that I'm supposed to be doing?
Right.
Absolutely, I think we all go through that, like just having a job and just to make ends meet. And me being a father, I'm just like, okay, well, I have to do what I have to do.
Right.
And most unfortunately, um, I became addicted to a substance, alcohol, actually,
Hmm. Hmm.
which further added complications to my life. So all innate talents were definitely repressed.
Okay.
And so much for even doing anything with that, or being an actual slave to my inner demons and to my vices of alcoholism.
Right.
Right. So I started writing, and my poetry came when I was about 20, 21 years of age.
Okay.
So I transitioned, and still in all, I never fully went anywhere with it. I did it as a hobby, as a means to vent.
Okay.
And pretty much just didn't realize the gift that I actually had. I was basically giving my poetry away in a sense, just to be known.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
I'm pretty much at this point in time realizing my dream, because unfortunately, due to alcohol, I was I committed a crime and I was sentenced to prison.
Okay.
That was when I was 36 years of age.
Okay. Okay.
Reluctant to see what was going on with myself, I repressed everything about myself. And it wasn't until I actually became incarcerated that I actually had the opportunity to have a full view of my life in retrospect from then and to the point I had become incarcerated.
Mm.
Right. So essentially, I kicked alcohol by default because I had no access to it.
Okay.
It was at that point, right? It was at that point in time that my innate talents began to flourish. I became able to heal myself
Mhm.
from all of the pain that I basically underwent from 2012 to 2016. I remember the first thing that took place was that I lost my best friend to a homicide. That's something I never shared with you.
Right. You did.
Right. So I lost my best friend in 2013. He was murdered. 2015, I lost my father. 2016, I lost my other uncle who was murdered. And 2017, I lost my mother. Right immediately after that, right after that, I became incarcerated. So
Wow.
all of that pain that I was masking with alcohol, um, pretty much hit me all like a jackhammer all at once. Through that, I was able to mature emotionally.
Okay.
I was able to heal. And
Mhm.
it's at that point in time in which I think that the dormant, repressed artist within me became able to flourish
Mhm.
through, were you going to ask me something?
No, let's go ahead. Go ahead. I don't want to stop you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a rough journey. I mean, I've underwent transformation and I'm still undergoing transformation for the most part.
Mhm.
And I never thought that I would go to prison. As a matter of fact, part of me always said to myself that, I'll never see the inside of a state penitentiary. Just being an asshole, being arrogant, it's the ego of alcoholism and all of this, speaking and whatnot. But the experience, I wouldn't change it for the world
Mhm.
because that is what had to happen in order for me to become who I am to be in actualization and not in theory and not just potentiality. Because I always meet people, mainly females that I had dealt with sporadically, that said, you have so much potential. And I'm saying to myself, like, what does that mean? What the hell what are you talking about? I have, even though I was under the influence of alcohol, like every day, I still had a job, I still had a car, I had an apartment. I was a provider. So it's kind of sort of like, would they give the entitlement of functional drinker to that entitlement,
Yeah.
which I don't I don't really ascribe to that theory. I don't believe in a functional addict, but that's another story. But I mean, for the most part, I had these things. So I'm like, potential. And what they were talking about was the fact that I was doing enough just to get by.
Mm.
That's it.
All of us do that.
I
A
was
lot of us
just,
do that.
right.
Mm.
I was doing just enough to get by. And I'm like, is this it? Like, I couldn't see it at that time. It was only until I was incarcerated that I was able to see, like, okay, this is what they're talking about. And it hit me when I was reading one day. I became an avid reader in jail.
Okay.
So I'm reading The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. Oh, my fault. That's a whole different concept. I was reading Never Get Angry Again by
Oh.
Dr. David J. Lieberman.
Okay.
And he had by a famous psychologist named by the name of Abraham Maslow. And it goes like this. The musician must make music. The artist must paint. The poet must write if he is to be at peace with himself. What a man can be, he must be. This is the need we may call self-actualization. It
Mm.
refers to man's desire for fulfillment, namely to the tendency for him to become actually in what he is potentially, for him to become everything he's capable of becoming. And I'm like, damn it, this defines my life. This is the pinnacle of human need. This is basically the representation of me. That's when the whole you have so much potential came into existence. For me, it became more real
Mm.
because of the self-realization of not actualizing, but just having, doing and just enough to get by. And the reason why I would turn to alcohol, the reason why, I wouldn't fulfill certain obligations. And I always put my fear factor at the forefront of everything. Fear to fail, fear to succeed, fear to just be who I was supposed to become.
Mm.
So, as I say, the prison experience definitely, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't trade it
But
for anything.
you had your awakening there. You had your
Absolutely.
moment where, and that's good because there are people that go through that, and when they come out, they don't have that. Okay, number one, they don't have that type of experience. Like, okay, this happened for a reason. I need to figure out why. I need to figure out, what's the dysfunction that caused me to be here. Or nor do they attempt to find their purpose. They don't want to say, okay, now that I'm out, I found my purpose. I found that maybe I was angry about something, I was hurt about something. I need to heal from this, I need to heal from that. And all of us are in, whether you go into a physical prison just as you did, or some of us are in a mental prison. If we
Right.
don't come out of that, then we'll always be stuck in some sort of situation. We'll be scared to um, face our purpose, our fears, and really achieve our dreams, and we'll hold ourselves back. Like I shared with you, I too had I dealt with alcohol abuse, and I did it to numb myself to a lot of hurt and pain. I lost my father at 19. Just lost my mom. Well, I didn't really drink with my mom, but I had a divorce. I had a lot of pain, things going on. And it's just been now in these past few months where I'm just now coming out of a lot of things my own self and finding my own voice. This right here has been my voice to the world and coming out and talking to people. So it's, and then just meeting people like yourself to share our story, your story with other people. It's been
Well,
pretty
there is no,
awesome.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like I was saying, like to go into it in depth, I'm just like, oh, there's a lot. Like I'm giving you like the tidbits of here and
Right.
there. It's like, okay, so it's here. I was here being reared in the South, being transitioned into the North as a teenager, um, having a whole different different
Yeah.
acculturation to the
Right.
northern way of life, and acclimating to the climate up here. It's like one thing within itself. Having friends, growing up with a guy that was my best friend, losing him, still in the process, trying to keep myself. It's just like so much going on. That's one aspect of it.
Hmm.
And then something you touched on as far as the coming out part. The transformation, as I was telling guys in prison, starts in here. I
Hmm.
understand why so many people become recidivists. It's because when you're in there, you're not really awakening to the reality of where you're at. Your objective reality. It's just like, yo, you're in prison. Like you're in a microcosm of a larger society, but it's still a society nonetheless. But is this what it is that you want? I made a decision while I was there to decide, to choose. I'm not coming back here, right?
Mm. Right.
So, not in theory, but in practice, in actualization, is that
You were
what
coming back.
did I do to get here? What is right? What is my life? What of the choices in my life have I made to bring me to this point? Because that was an investment. I had people warning me. I didn't have to go that way. I didn't have to wind up in prison. But because I didn't take I chose not to take those warnings, I had to go to prison. So a lot of people, myself being one of those people, have got to have that experience. Unfortunately, there are certain experiences that I definitely don't want to have again. And this is the reason why my company is called Empirically Speaking. This is not, this is done off of sheer observation. This is not just theory, this is actualization. So the transformation underwent, say again?
I said you've lived this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Doesn't mean I have to have the experience again, because one of my catalysts was in introspection was, I know what results I procured from this pattern of behavior. So I know where this part of life is leading me. At the age of 37, I was arrested. So I'm 40 now, just turned 40 in March. If I go down this path, it is by default, I'm destined to get different results. And damn, I'm getting them. I'm having them right now. But this was an investment to go into prison because of my bad choices. And it was an investment while I was in prison to transform, to already have in my mind, all right, this is who I am now. And I made this theory up, this philosophy up when I was actually on my way out of the door. And I shared this in the AA group when I was there. I'm going to share it right now. I said, each and every one of us who have actually desired to change and to become someone to become the person we're supposed to become, or whoever we became before we left out of there, we were going to have an experience upon leaving. Before I left out of that door, I knew this was going to happen, and I'd be damned if it didn't. So when we get outside, right when we get to this point, two things are going to happen. Two people are going to meet, and they're going to meet at the exact same time. And those two people are you, who you were before you came in, and who you are going out. You're going to make the choice right then and there who you're going to be.
Wow.
That's it. They're going to meet at the same time. And those two people are both you. Who you're going to be before, who you're going to be when you're leaving out. You have to make the choice. And I was duly attentive. I was conscious that when the parole officer came and he said, "You're Shamari?" I said, "Yes." All right. We're about to walk out of the door. There's no cuffs on me. And I said to myself, I know who I am. And there's no looking back. There's no going back. There's no going back. There's nothing to go back to. I wasted a lot of time, and I figured, like, well, shit, I'm 40. Excuse my language. I'm 40. So I'm like, life is short. It seemed just like yesterday I was a teenager, and I was with my friends. I had no children, and I was just like, wow. And then I look back, and I'm just like, damn, I don't want this. I want that Shamari, because here's the funny thing about the subconscious, and it ties back into my writing. When I first started writing, my name was Shadow, which we all have a shadow side. My writing name was Shadow, Vision, Shadow Vision. I cut off the shadow. This is not like I'm just like, this is just happening, and I'm just like, several years went by, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna be Vision. I'm going to be Vision. So I took the name Vision for several years, almost damn near a decade. As a matter of fact, yeah. I didn't transition into Shamari Alonz until I actually went to prison. Because then when you look at it, as from the age of 20 to about 26, 27, 26, I was Shadow, turned to Vision. Then from 27 to like 37, it's like 10 years, was Vision. And then I turned to Shamari Alonz. So the shadow is the darkness. Cut that off with the name. The vision is I'm living a specific type of life. I can see it, but it's not me. It's just my vision. That's it. It's not actualization, really. However, when I went to prison, I transformed into who I was supposed to be. And I didn't even realize that this was what was happening until I realized it. I'm like, no, I'm not Shadow. I'm not a vision. I'm Shamari Alonz, because Alonz is still my name.
Right.
Right.
And so now you're going by your name and no longer
Absolutely.
going by an
Not
alias.
hiding
You've
behind anything. Not
accepted,
hiding behind anything. Not hide. I've
you,
accepted who I
yeah,
am and who I'm
you've
supposed to be.
accepted who you are in its fullness and don't have no problem with expressing who you are, apparently,
None
obviously.
whatsoever.
And that
Absolutely
is,
not.
and honestly, that was, it sounds like you just had to take, you had to take a journey and um, sometimes how they have to say you hit rock bottom. You
Right.
had to hit a point in your life
You're
where
welcome.
you're like, okay, I have no choice here but to go up. And it sounds like you know you're now rebuilding and getting to a point where, well, you found exactly what you want to do. You knew that this is
Absolutely.
a God-given gift, and now it's time that I express this to the world. And I liked how you, because how you were saying you thought to be a rapper at one point in time. So
Correct.
you know, um, some, and I will say some rap out there has is poetic. It is,
It
but
is. It is.
there is some that is, but that wasn't your path to go down. And at that point in time, it was something you were probably trying to do to fit in with everybody, and you just had to go through some different turns and twists to finally get to this point where you are now. To say, I am
Correct.
Shamari Alonz, and I am very happy to be who I am, and this is how I express myself. But that would be fairly
Absolutely.
accurate. Yeah, I like that.
Absolutely.
I
I
like that.
I've had many, like, as I said, like it was an investment because I had people. It's not like I was one of these people out here and I did not have guidance. I chose certain things. I
Okay,
chose to go this way.
right.
Even some people that I'll probably never see again, the smallest little things. Then it brings me to this quote I read. I'm not really sure where I got it, but it stuck with me. Smallest things with meaning are worth more than the greatest things without it. So some of
Mm,
these people that actually gave me some tools, some words of wisdom, it stuck with me. So I was like, I've had like little pockets of wisdom that would just hit me. And I remember I was in the store one time, and this gentleman said to me, "It would be selfish of you to not let the world hear what you have to offer." And I'm
mm,
like, wow. So you have a very strong name. Then talking about my full government. But
mhm.
it's like you have a very strong name. You know what? You have to do this because it would be extremely selfish of you to to keep this from the world. I heard it, but I just left out of there and went right into the liquor store. It's like, all right, whatever.
Right.
It's like, and that's who I was at the time. I was still veiled by the shadow, which I wrote about. Like I've got a lot of material. Like, and then I look at this of what I've uh, managed to amass in my 16 months. I wrote my first book of being in the county jail. I wasn't even in the prison, but I have I have poetry in there in which I talk about being veiled by a shadow. But that was definitely my shadow side, which we all have. So I am aware of the darkness because it's there. I just don't give it that much light, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I'm aware that it exists because it's like everyone casts a shadow. It has substance with it. It's what makes me who I am. Like I'm imperfect, and I wrote something about that. Like yeah, I've got a lot of stuff, you know.
Have you? Do you know what your name means?
Do I know what? Say again, please.
Do you know what your name means? Is there a meaning to your name?
Right. So yin and yang again ties right back into shadows. Shamari itself means peace in one of the many African dialects, and then also means ready for war. So, whatever my mother was doing when she did it, It's just real weird. Oh, and I didn't add, and like I said, I don't want to give away too much. Eventually,
Right.
you know, like I plan on doing an autobiography as told to someone who's willing to sit down and take my crazy story, because I have a lot to share. But no,
We could
I
tell.
was actually from birth, I was adopted, and I didn't even. Hey, I don't even think you knew that.
I didn't. You didn't tell me that part.
Right,
No.
right, right, right. I was adopted, and here's the kicker. Are you ready?
Hmm.
I didn't find out I was adopted until I was 16.
Hmm.
I lived my entire adolescence and majority of my teenage years under the impression, and I was, these people were my biological family, and that hit me like a ton of bricks, because it wasn't like it was told to me. I kind of sort of like was playing around fortuitously, and this was like, so I'm like, what? I'm adopted, and he was like, and I'm like, oh,
Oh, wow.
silence, yeah, and they're like, I'm like, oh, wow, that was not, man. It's like, of all the things I could have picked to say, I picked that.
You picked
Immediately, they're
that.
like, Right. It was like, well, one day the truth is going to come out. And then just having a conversation amongst themselves, and like, what? I'm adopted. And like, I'm like, whoa. You're talking about someone definitely needs to go to counseling right now.
Would you have
Yeah.
thought, because I've heard,
No, naive,
no, not one.
totally naive. Unless it's my subconscious mind, I don't know. I totally just like, okay, I'm this complexion. There's a little darker than me.
Right.
I mean, come on. I mean, from birth, like, my only memory I know I have is what I have. Child is born knowing only life. So it's like the concatenation between me and these people, it would go nowhere else. I couldn't fathom that, that being what it was. And like I said, I was kind of like accidentally just really like playing around, just kind of like being jocular about everything. And it's like, what, I'm adopted? And I'm like, I'm like, oh shit.
Wait a minute,
Yeah.
huh? Do you think
Yeah,
that
right.
probably what led you to going into alcohol and, going into more of a darker phase of your life at that time? Or did that trigger it?
On a on a on a on a more consistent basis, because in the beginning stages, I mean, I started drinking like when I was 15. I found out when I was 16, and I wasn't a I wasn't addicted to it then. It wasn't until I became like 18. So yeah, I kind of like had a lot of things going on with me and whatnot, and you know that it could have possibly. I can't say definitively. Yeah, that was the number one kicker that pushed me to that. Nah, I can't really say that, because after a while it subsided, and I just was like, because one of my new awakenings is about perspective. Like, even before I could fully conceptualize perspective,
Hmm.
I altered my perspective. I was like, well, what difference does it make? Another sense saying that I was trying to rationalize or just trying to like sanitize the reality that I didn't know my origin per se. But I just realistically kind of sort of like shifted the perspective of, well, hey, what is the bright side to this whole thing? And then that's kind of sort of like was my place where I was just like, all right, I'm comfortable with that. And then it was the other side, to the point where it's like, well, what if they didn't want to see me? I'm like, look, I lived a great life. These people cared for me,
Right.
for the most part. Because I know people that have biological parents and were just like, oh my God, like, please, you know. So it took me a while to get to that point,
Right.
but nevertheless, I reached it. And even now, we know, with technology and things, I'm not really too familiar. I think I was a little bit before I was incarcerated. The 23andMe, Ancestry.com. I'm not too familiar. I mean, well, I know of it. I'm not really sure which one does what, but
Mhm.
it's something that I wouldn't mind. But the thing is, if I want to do it, I need to do it soon. Because if not, it's like, time is not promised. You know, I don't want to, you know, but
Right.
that's still like a decision because I've reached a place of solace where I'm just like, I'm good. So it's kind of sort of like my daughter, my youngest daughter, keeps harping. And she's like, well, I take that into consideration because she knows. And she's like, well, I want to know about my other family. And I
Yeah.
think that she deserves it, So I'm just like,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. That's like
Yeah, because,
my son does that now. And because I did the ancestry.com one, and I did the whole DNA, and I knew little things about my family, but there were things like I didn't know I had Irish and German in my blood. Y'all thought like, wow, that's like totally left field. But I knew I had Spanish. They said we were from West Africa, and I'm like, well, that kind of explains, most of the slaves came from West Africa, so that kind of wasn't a no-brainer for me. But we came from parts of Ireland and Switzerland and German, and I'll have some Scottish in me. And I liked how it'll break down to where even what tribes you came from in Africa, and then how your
wow.
family journeys over here. So it gives you a whole history. And then what's beautiful about that whole entire thing is you can connect with people that are possibly related to you.
Correct.
So yeah, it's I do recommend, honestly, if you're ready for that journey, it's a great journey. It's a
I'm
rewarding
ready for
journey.
everything right now.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm ready for anything. I'm ready for pretty
Yeah.
much anything right now. As I had said before, someone could have, I was given plenty of opportunities. I've been to open mics before, and a woman asked me, she said, look, I need you to come to my personal business establishment
Mhm.
tomorrow, and I need to talk business with you. And I said, okay. So I show up the next day. She says, listen, I want you to run this place on Thursday night. I want you to run it however you want to run it and do this open mic. And
Okay.
all I ask from you is for you to bring attention to our menu and try to get people, just mention to try to generate some business for us on a Thursday. This was when, this was before, I was in my late 20s. This happened. I found every excuse not to do it. And that's why I said that was the fear.
Hmm.
Now, that fear, that's just one opportunity I missed. There's several others. That
Right.
was like one that just always comes to mind because I'm like, who would I have met? What would have happened? And now who I am, who I've become. Um, the same fear that I had, it's not that the fear actually never rears its head now. It's just the fact that I face it. Same fear I felt then is the same fear. It was like, hey, we will come on do an interview. You want to come on? I felt the same fear. It's just like, no, I
Right.
don't care. Someone can tell me right now, you want to go on television? You want to go on the Breakfast Club? I'm like, sure,
You will know
whatever. I mean,
really
I
excited.
don't know, and I don't know what's going to happen. The thing about it is, I don't know what's going to happen. The thing about it is that I've reversed the whole dynamic to the point where I'm just like, I want to know what's going to happen. It's kind of sort of like when I first started, when we first started recording, I'm a lot more loose than I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a lot more
Yeah,
loose
you
now.
more
Like,
laid back.
it's kind of like, hey, oh, wait a minute, hold on. I just gotta get into it. So I'm just like, all right, well, but the thing about it is that's a part of the process that I'm welcoming. So it's like, all
Yeah.
right, I'm welcoming that as a before I'm like, well, hell with that. I'm not gonna go up there and and embarrass myself or that's one thing that a lot of people who don't do anything have in common. They
Right.
know they have the exact same reason of why they can't get anything accomplished.
Because they don't want
They can tell you all the reasons.
to. Yeah. They'll give you every excuse as to why they cannot do it and never do it.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
and if you don't try it, the thing about it is something, especially if it's your God given gift and it's something that's within you, it'll come back around. And it'll keep coming back around and keep tugging at you until you actually do it.
Absolutely.
And
Guy
so
ran
once
into me on the
you do it, because that's your gift. So once you do it and open that door, you'd be surprised how many other doors begin to open and you begin to elevate and you go, wow, I didn't realize this was here. And then like I should have done it 20 years ago. But I also look at it like this. Even when you say, I wasn't ready, I was scared, I was this, you had to work out some things. And once you work that
correct,
out, the timing, I believe timing is always perfect too. The timing for you to finally express and do what you needed to do was perfect. So here you are,
correct,
and it's been
absolutely,
the perfect
absolutely,
timing for everything to align, for everything to come into place, and now it's time to go ahead and express it because now you have the more maturity, you have more understanding,
correct,
you have life experiences, good and bad and ugly. There's things that you can now express and share with people that other people can now see that you're more seasoned and more ready, and probably more ready to receive. As to if it was 20 years ago, people would probably been like, wow, he's, smart and this and that. But then at that time, you probably just wasn't ready. You had to go through some life
correct,
change,
correct.
you know. So yeah, that I think um, timing was very important, and everything happened, and then you had to just they had to create Facebook and Zoom and all these things so here we could be and we could talk to everybody.
Addition, ad- absolutely. In
Right.
additionally, the level, as you mentioned, maturity, which actually stuck out to me, was the actual emotional maturity, being able to cope with what comes with doing this and being able to set certain boundaries. Because I tell you, I'm not one for notoriety. It just so happens to be like it doesn't do anything for me.
Hmm.
But doing this, it just automatically is going to come. It comes with the territory.
Right.
So you have to be mature, emotionally mature enough to deal with that. And at that point in time, nah, I wasn't ready for all that. I
No,
was not ready for
wasn't.
that.
No.
So that's why I say again, this is the way how you put that in perspective. It's all about how you look at things. Perfect timing came, how it came, when it came. So that was the within of its right time. I was reading, I think it was a book by Napoleon Hill. I make a lot of references to books.
That's
Which is a good
good.
thing. No one's actually read the book Think and Grow Rich. It was written back in the
Hmm.
1930s by Napoleon Hill. Um, and I'm sure that other people have taken, the whole concept that individuals who have flourished, there's a huge percentage of people that actually flourished in their 40s, in their 50s is when they began. And I'm like, are you serious? And I'm
Hmm.
just like, wow, you know? I was like,
That's
well, look,
true.
better late than never. I don't have a time to spare. I'm going to be older than older longer than I'm going to be younger. So I'm just like, now is the time. I no longer smoke cigarettes as well. So
That's
my
great.
lips are pink again. I feel I breathe better. I've unfortunately, fitness centers are closed down due to this pandemic. But I'm definitely in better shape than I've ever been. And
Yeah.
yeah, it
You
was
take
good.
care of
Life is
yourself
good.
now. And life is
Absolutely,
good
way better.
now.
Life is good.
So we know that you write poetry and you said you're going to write your own autobiography. Is there any other written work or anything else you see yourself doing in the future?
I'm a fan of Booker T. Washington, which is really for me. Um, he is the paradigm for self-help in his document, in his autobiography, Up from Slavery. So I'll probably do something for self-help. But you probably are aware of my controversial Facebook post that I don't pull no punches.
No,
Like
you
I'm being very politically correct on here. But when it comes down to self-help, particularly with the African American or the Black American, whatever, you know who we're talking about. I am definitely not pulling any punches uh, because, I mean, for the most part, I'm a Southerner at heart,
hmm
but the majority of my time in the city. altogether. And I'm thankful that this like from my birth, everything has been like this path. And it's just like everything was aligned the way it's supposed to be. I'm a Southerner at heart. So then for my manners will never go anywhere. So when you hear me or read something about, my concepts, and I'm talking about when I'm being serious, not when I'm actually, being outlandish and infusing a comedic approach with my content on Facebook, that's just for entertainment purposes in that sense. But when I'm being serious, I'm very much so like staunch in my delivery. I don't cut any corners. It's live and it's direct. So a self-help book will be something that's in the making. There are a lot of things. I'm not going to give any air to organizations that are out there in my opinions about them, or whatever the case is. Just know that my approach is a whole lot different. I think that particularly for Black Americans, because of the condition uh, that we're in overall, contingent upon what we're talking about, if we're talking about actually ameliorating our status, whether it be social economical status or whatever the case, then we have to put it in perspective to say you cannot fix extreme circumstances with moderate solutions. You're going to have to meet it like head on. And you can't do that by, treating things with kid gloves and, being politically correct.
Over there, Sam. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You need the charger? Okay. Here. I'll go ahead and take care of that. You want mine? Here. You can use this and get on what you call it. Thank you. All right. Go sit over there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
That happens. Yeah, I actually kind of touched on that a little bit earlier today. It's funny because every time I end up doing one of these, I end up touching on the same subject matter earlier in the day. And I was kind of touched on the simple fact that um, wasn't to say specifically for its African American people, but I was even just saying about how we need to take responsibility, how we need to, our leadership, there's things that we need to be held accountable for and things ourselves that we need to change.
Correct.
And not to sit here and do what a lot of people have done and blame people in the beginning. And so it's just like, what we see now going on in our country, even with this COVID-19, we have seen poor leadership. And it's because it is truly a reflection of how distant we've become, how distant our government and things have become from us as a people. There's things that are now more selfish. People are more into themselves, and unfortunately, we had to get in a position now where you have the quarantine where people had to start going back to just taking care of each other and ourselves and start doing things for ourselves once again. It was something. Doing our own hair. Back in the day, I remember I talked about a while ago. I used to go to somebody's house. He used to press my hair all the time. I come out, and my dad used to tease me talking about you look like a Lola Falana, and because my hair was so long, it's so silky and stuff. But we just gotten away from doing the things that we used to do to take care of home, to take care of home base, and we now need to really get back to that. We'll get to self help and people, pump us up and pump, but it's just about self. It's about us and as a whole as a community to be concerned about when we have to take care of not only us but each other down the line because we all need each other. We rely on one another, and if we don't do that, then we basically put ourselves in a bad situation. You know, so I kind of that's funny how we continue to see ourselves in that, and then we get some wonderful people like we have right now running the government.
Right.
And we
I
have to
mean,
out of that.
like for me, with the whole political affair and all of that, this, that, and the other, from a observational view, I agree with you in the sense of your perspective of what's taking place. As far as Black Americans are concerned. The whole actual do for self
Mm-hmm.
philosophy is where we should be, running towards. If anything, I make
Yeah.
jokes about certain people that want to blame white supremacy on everything. My thing is like, if I'm focusing on myself, I'm too busy to worry about what white supremacy is trying to do. White supremacy would not have allow certain things to go into place if that was the case. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to stop making excuses and do better for self. And there's nobody else that's the poster child for that except for me. I mean, like, come on, like I've made some very reprehensible, piss poor choices, and that's why I got what I got. So now, like I said, like white supremacy didn't stop me from starting this.
Right. You
It
still
didn't
became a writer.
exactly, and
Yeah.
it's not. It's not. I only my when I saw the book called Your Own Worst Enemy, and we all know this, that concept, that's a reality.
Mm-hmm.
That is a reality.
We are our
So
own worst enemy all day.
the difficult, right, and the difficult part about this whole thing is that trying to help blacks, those are the people that are going to give you your biggest opposition, and you're trying to help them. So it's like I'm trying to help you, and you're the one that's fighting me. I'm just trying to impart some information that you may want to consider, because if you've been doing X, Y, and Z, again, as I was doing X, Y, A, B, and C, what is the harm in you trying something different?
Right.
You're not losing
Nothing.
anything.
It's nothing harmful in it. And that's the point. Because if
Nothing.
you keep doing the same thing, it's like you're gonna ride a bike until it gets to the wheels fall off. And once the wheels fall off, I'm gonna keep trying to ride it on this wheelbarrow. And it's like, come on, we need to try something brand new. We need to try something different. And if we don't, it falls apart. It's broken. Nothing changes. It stays the same. And we have, even with our legal system's broken. There's so many things within our system that's completely broken to me. Um, I think I'll give this whole like little bit where, you know, just getting, I thought it was kind of backwards when they said, well, when you have kids and family, they help you. And I'm like, well, I know there are a lot of people out there without children that need help. I used to be one of them. you know, it's like,
Okay.
but then it's like, even like, I guess I went a few years ago, I had to go apply for government assistance for the county. And they were like, well, you make too much money, so we can only give you this. And I'm like, well, if I didn't need this, I wouldn't be coming here. And the whole system to me was so broken because it was like you basically had to be poor and broke, completely broke, and have
Right.
no income for
Right.
the government to even help you. And I thought that was a little backwards. I still think it's backwards because there are people that I see that make as much or if not more than me that are still living paycheck to paycheck and they need help along the way. And I'm not sitting here saying, that's what you live off of. Everybody has to better themselves according to their own purpose and plan in life. But um, some people just, to me, I was like, it should be a helping stool, not something you just live on. And I guess when I see just how even something as that nature, for example, that whole system is just broken to me. And just the whole, just the system in general to me is just broken. And it needs to change, but it has to change starting with us, then with us as a community. But then we have to be mindful who we
Correct.
put in places of leadership. I'm not a person where you could be running for an office. Please don't tickle my ear. I really need to know what you're gonna do when I get you in that office. Who are you? What are you really about? Are you not here just to help the needs and meet the needs that I need, but are you here to help my community and better my community? Will it be better that when my son gets my age, he's not gonna have to go through the same struggles that I'm going through? You know what I'm saying? Are things
Correct.
going to be in place for my grandchildren? Are things going to be there to help for us to mobilize and move as a community, to move as one? We can't sit here and say we the people and we are completely dysfunctional as a people. That doesn't
Correct.
work.
And
So,
also, and I think that we need to hold these people's feet to the fire.
mm,
Um, so I have a whole. It's crazy when it comes to like this whole political thing. It's like the political platform. For me, I just don't. I don't. I'm not convinced. For one, it's their system. It's not really for you because it's their system in a
right.
sense, essentially. And I think is like it needs to be exposed for what it really is. When we talk about we need new leadership, we don't even have any leadership, to be
We
honest with you,
don't.
because they're not leading you anywhere. Um, I understand, like particularly with the black politicians or whatnot. Come on, man. I mean, let's be honest. Like again, what are they really leading you to?
Hmm.
These are the original black royal class elites, but they're doing. How can they be for you? Who funds these people? Who's? It's not like they're taking their own money. I mean, they're getting paid by.
Somebody.
You know what I mean? Yeah, right, right. So it's just like whoever controls the money controls the movement.
Yes.
So they're just putting you there.
There's a
They're trying to get.
documentary on that. I don't know if you've seen it. I've seen a
No,
documentary on that.
no. I just read books from back in. This is nothing new.
Right.
Our solution as black people is in our past. Period.
Yes.
And we don't know it. We don't know it. In prison, I did a lot of research. Again, empirically speaking, I would walk around and be like, since a lot of blacks like to talk about slavery so much, I would be like, excuse me, brother. I'm feigning ignorance. I'm using the Socratic method of Socratic irony, and I'm feigning ignorance. I'm like, do you know when slavery ended?
No.
No, not no. It was just, okay. I asked every black. I asked 90% of the inmate population where I was at about slavery and when it ended. No one knew. White man got it off by 2 years because he thought the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 ended it. I'm like, you came closer than anybody else. This is a white man. But they all knew 1776. They all knew about that date, that year. And I'm just
Really?
like, oh, yeah, yeah. The vast majority of the whites in there knew that. No, you can't ask no Haitian teenager when did Haiti gain its independence. They're going to tell you 1804. They know that. At least the black immigrants, but they
Right.
actually know. The Jews know about the Holocaust, and I'm not saying like our history didn't start in slavery.
Right.
I'm just using that as to
As
say,
an
well, what do
example.
you actually know? What do you know about? Let's just come out of slavery and go into Reconstruction. Don't know
Hmm.
when that was. Don't know what took place. Don't know about. This is the thing that gets me is about people. And the reason why I'm bringing all this up because it all ties into what I said. The solution for now is in our past.
Yes.
Don't know it. Don't know it. Because Booker T. Washington already talked about these royal class black elites, and he called them race prophetess. It was these people that were always set up. There's always been people who have actually profited off of our actual plight. So if we have a plight, whatever the plight may be in Black America, you have a group of race propheters that are at the forefront to talk about that plight and blame white supremacy when white supremacy are the ones that are funding you. So how could you actually be for us? If
Mm.
that has already been in play back then, and we know that, then why are we still falling for that right now? It's the same thing, and I'm going to go into the whole, I want to turn this into a political thing, but
Right.
with the Barack Obama situation, and I'm just like, okay, if you voted for him the first time, how did he get you twice? But
That's a whole nother
well,
ball game. That's
yeah,
a whole nother conversation.
it is. But you know, but when you look at the actual, okay, so the miseducation of the Negro, um, called it Dr. Carter G. Woodson, father of Black History. Well, I wouldn't say he's the father of Black History Month, but he is responsible in the sense that he's the one that got the ball rolling with Negro History Week. So in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro, one of the chapters is talking about political reformation. We have got to completely learn politics because we are completely ignorant, myself included. but I
Yes.
understand the general concept of you're still voting in the same pattern, but the
Yes.
results you're getting is not there. I don't have to be a whiz or a political aficionado to know like something's not right with this.
Yeah.
With the
Something's broken.
ideology, right? If the ideology is messed up, the methodology is damn sure following nothing but a subsidiary of the ideology, and it's contaminated.
Yes.
So I
You
have a
should write
couple
a
of
book
poems.
about it.
Nah, I'm not gonna make it in the political world. I wouldn't last long in the political world. Because I don't like I'm doing this whole poetry thing because this something that I have an innate love for. It's just it's inborn. The money, of course, I don't want to sit back and be broke. I want to be solvent. I want to be able to take care, provide for my family. Like I said, I don't really particularly know what uh what I want to run into, but I know that I'm on the right path. You
Mhm.
know, so in the political sense, in the political world, I don't think I last that long
Okay. But you never know.
in a political forefront.
Look, you never know. Look, I just told you when you start one path, other doors open to other things. So you never know where it's going to
You're
lead
right.
you. So
You're right. You're
keep an
right.
open mind. You never know. Um, so since we are talking about your poetry, um, do you have a specific type of poetry that you write? What do the different things? I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but what are some specific things that your poetry uh, talks about?
The beginning, in the beginning, my poetry was very much so roses are red, violets are blue type of material. And to be completely honest with you, I've had a struggle to get back to that style of writing because I've become a lot more sophisticated in my diction and my phraseology, the way everything links together. And I'm just like, damn, I miss that simplicity because simplicity is always a beautiful thing.
Hmm.
So I'm just like, I have the love aspect. I have the flip side of love. I have some political poems. I have just because how to say the first book, of course, is called Empirically Speaking, so that's dealing more with um, vision and actualization. The second book that I started is called Traces of My Existence. So it's pretty much discursive. It's just like me. Like I'm all over the place. So it's like my subject matter is like all over the place.
Hmm. Could be,
You know?
you could have a little bit of everything. So,
Absolutely. It's not all
um,
dismal. What I want to do is have more optimistic poems because when I go to I was like I said, I was in the dark side. So therefore I believe subconsciously like I projected a lot of that.
hmm.
So with coming of age and as the vision that where I was at, I'm like, oh wow, this is uplifting. I had a conversation with a woman once, and she told me like she actually bought a poem off of me. I used to always keep my number at the bottom in case someone wanted something else, a personal poem made for them. And she called me back in like 5 minutes, brought me the poem back, and said, "Here, I don't want this. You can keep the money." And I'm like, "Why?" She said, "This is dark. Poetry is supposed to be uplifting." And I look,
Not necessarily.
I value everyone's opinion. The only thing I disagree with her was what she said, the title. It was called A Heart Without a Home. But she said this is nothing to do with a heart without a home. And that's why the only thing I disagree because I'm like, I'm the artist, I'm the one that constructed this. But as far
Right.
as her saying ridiculing the content within itself, the subject matter, I have no objection to her doing that because that's the way it resonated with her. So it's the art. So what she saw, someone else could see something different. So
Correct.
I have poems myself that I'm not fond of, and I wrote it. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you may like it. Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like it's not one of my favorite ones, and I don't tell people, oh yeah, this is the one. It's whatever you want. I wrote it. I give it to you. It's now yours. So this is another way that I absolve myself from having that ego complex when it comes to my art, because like I said, this is bigger than me. But
So, I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you to do us a favor because we are um, running out of time. But
Okay.
I will ask you if you are able to share some of your work with us. I would like for
Okay.
you to share something with us. I have posted a couple of your poems, some of your art on um, the corner. I've posted a couple of them, and people liked them. They were like good. Like I said, I had a couple of people that posted it on their page, and it say nothing on mine, but I saw it on theirs, and I was like, okay, I
That
guess you
is
like that one.
that is
So
so much so appreciated.
yeah, so,
That like I told you, I had tears in my eyes when I saw it. I was like, oh my God, are you serious? I was like, what?
yeah.
You know,
Well,
and
remember you had sent me something and you were like, I want you to check this out. And I was like, okay. And I had just started doing this. Like I said, I just started doing this a couple of weeks ago. And so I sat down. I said, oh, let me go listen. And I went to listen. I was like, people need to hear him. That's all I could hear in my spirit was that people needed to hear your voice. And so here we are. And I really wanted people to hear you, hear your point of view. And that's really what my whole platform is about, is to share with the world different points of view, different aspects of life, different. And I like art, so I like poetry, and you see I got my painting behind me, and
absolutely,
I just like different things. I know that's my little creative fun side. I make candles, so I'll put on some music and make my candles, and I will be a happy woman all day every day. But that's just my side of things, and I'm sure there are other people who are into that as well. So are into different forms of creativity, as well as their art and how they like to express themselves. So I would like for you, if you don't mind, is share some of your work
absolutely.
with us, so
Okay,
we can hear what you have for us.
okay. So I have to love. This is kind of sort of like this is the second part to love. It just is. Love it just is a lot more roses are red, violets are blue type. But this is the second part to the love it just is. It's called To Love.
Okay.
Pardon me, bear with me. I haven't not read this since I wrote it in jail.
Okay, that's all right.
Right. All right. So, to love. Some say it is to suffer more when it is over. Others say that it is beautiful before it even begins. And then there are some that are somewhere in between. To love, to hear its sound in which you'd move through busy crowds without a care placed in the metropolitan air. You just want to be there, where it is present at all costs, moving and within its cadence, complementing its beautification. To love, like art, uncontained in formless expression, to go, please, rain check, leaving no tip for satisfaction, only the long kiss for a goodbye and bitter ending when love comes crashing down with fatal passion. To love, an encore presentation, presently waiting, intrinsically extroverted, in so many words at a loss for explanation, inserted, extracted, asserted, retracted, attraction moving forward and backwards. It does have a mind of its own interest, active, abstract interaction, concrete, established, as is, to love. Some say it is to suffer more when it's all said and done.
Right.
Others say it's simply marvelous, and every bit worth the risk before it even begins. I'm guessing I'm somewhere in between, looking in from the outside of its thundercloud. It is the theme song to which I walk with, hovering above with its halo hanging from the hooks, hurried happiness. And still, for that, I yearn and long to be able to release my ability to love.
Wow.
So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
I have not read that. Thank you.
I like that one. You got to send me, well, send scan it, copy something. I don't know, take a picture. Send it to me. I like that one. Applause. Nancy said applause.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I enjoyed
Okay,
that. Thank you so much. I'm going to continue to post your work. The more you put out there, the more I will share. And if anybody wants to just listen and to follow you, where can they find you?
You can find me at Shamari Alonz on YouTube.
Yes.
2 separate words, Shamari Alonz
Okay.
on YouTube. Also, my podcast, which I will be adding a plethora of content very soon, is entitled, we have to go to anchor.fm,
Mhm.
the app, and Empirically Speaking, EMPIRICALLY speaking, Empirically Speaking.
So what I will do is because we weren't able to get on Facebook, so I will post
Right.
this recording on the page, and I will add all of that so people can see it. And if anybody wants to contact you, how is the best way to reach you?
Well, you can reach me through email at
Okay.
Shamari Alon without the Z. So
Okay.
that's Shamari, SHAMARIALON 17 at gmail.com.
All
And
right.
also my business number, which is 973-530-8694. 973-530-8694. And again, Shamari Alon 17. SHAMARIALON 17 at gmail.com.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, Shamari, thank you so much for
Thank
doing this for us.
you for
I'm gonna bring you
having me.
back because I want you to
Please
give some
do.
more work
Please.
to us. I'm gonna bring you back another
Absolutely.
time. I'm gonna have to figure out an artsy night. Maybe I get Nancy on the guitar. I got you doing some poetry. I get somebody else doing some. I don't know. We're gonna figure something else now. Very enjoyable, great evening. Thank you,
Yes,
Nancy.
Nancy, thank you for
So we're
your
gonna figure out
attendance.
something. We're gonna have a fun art night. I don't know.
Absolutely looking forward to
I'm
it.
gonna figure this out between now and the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna do it for my Mother's Day. I'm gonna make a Mother's Day party for myself. That's what I'm gonna do.
Marvelous, marvelous, marvelous. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is like a hallmark in a
Oh, you're
turning
very
point.
welcome. You are very welcome,
Yes,
and I want people to definitely reach out to you. You know, you guys listen to him. He has some really good work out there, and he has. You can see the brother's very gifted. So definitely listen to him. Call him. He might have something for you guys, and see.
absolutely.
That's
Oh, one last thing. I actually, when people check out my content on my YouTube page at Shamari Alons, um, if there's anything that someone may want personalized for them,
mm,
um, I actually offer that service, whether it be in video format or just actually just vocals or both compiled. So if you like what you see on my YouTube channel, personally contact me and I will definitely do something for a small fee. I'm not trying to get rich, but
it's
that's
your
part of
work.
my business.
It's your business.
That's
There you go. That's
my
what I have to
business.
tell you. I
That's
gotta
it.
work and I gotta eat. I have to tell people that all the time.
Absolutely.
Hey,
But it's reasonable.
it's
It's reasonable.
reasonable. Okay, so he has a reasonable
Absolutely.
price, people. He's not charging you
Absolutely.
first born like some people will.
No.
All right. Thank you, Shamari, and I will talk with you soon.
Thank you.
All right, you take
Absolutely.
care.
Have a great night. All right.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.